Hey guys, today is Friday, April 24th. Today you're going to do lesson 11. It's Weathering and Erosion Part 2, but it's mostly grammar and morphology today, so you're not really going to have to do any extra reading. These are your objectives for today. Review real quick, even though we're not really going to talk about it too much. What's erosion? Any process or force that moves sediments to a new location. So different causes of erosion: wind, flowing water, moving ice, gravity. Today what we're going to be spending most of our time talking about is adjectives. We're going to be figuring out when we have more than one adjective describing a noun, how do we order them, like what order is the proper order to put them in. Kind of probably sounds crazy to you, like, oh, there's an order we have to put them in? Yeah, I know, it's kind of surprising because we do it almost naturally without even thinking about it. But to review basic adjectives to begin with, adjectives are words that describe nouns, which are people, places, things, or ideas. Adjectives provide details about nouns such as size, number, color, shape, and material. So examples: the sharp pencil, the full bookshelf, a blue popsicle. So the words in these sentences, in these example sentences, and these examples are color-coded, and there's a reason why. So the blue words, the words in blue, are a type of adjective called an article, but when we say the word adjective, we don't, and we're talking about these words, the, a, and, we don't call them adjectives, we call them articles, but they are describing a noun, so technically they're an adjective, but they're called articles. So the, a, and, those are all different articles. And they basically are just telling about a specific, whether or not it's a specific noun or it's something like something non-specific. That's basically it. It's not really that important that you know that. The words in orange, so sharp, full, and blue, those are adjectives. They're describing either size, number, color, shape, or material of the noun, which is in pink. So the nouns are pencil, bookshelf, popsicle. In each case, those are all things. So the orange is describing the pink word, which is the noun. Remember, we're focusing today on the orange words, the adjectives. So this is going to look a little bit weird at first, but this is how we will know to order multiple adjectives correctly. So it's easy if we're just saying like the big dog, right? But if we're saying like the old, big, brown, like hairy, I'm doing them out of order right now, dog, like we have multiple adjectives. So how do we know what order they go in? So this is kind of crazy, right? Because we don't really think about it. Like we do it almost without thinking. But there is an order to how you should put the adjectives when you're writing them or when you're saying them. So obviously the article goes first. The article is like the, a, and. It's that word. Now when we're using the actual adjectives themselves, we go from general things to very specific things. And the first way of determining what it is, it moves from opinion and observation, then physical description, so size, shape, age, color, etc., then material, then origin, and then purpose. And then you'll have the noun that you'll actually write about. So this all looks it looks like a lot, I know, but I'm going to read you, I'm going to tell you what each of these actually means, so you can know, like, what does it mean? What does opinion, observation mean? What does origin mean? Like, how do I know what these things are when I'm trying to order an adjective? So these are the order and explanation. So opinion and observation is describing a noun based on a particular point of view or feeling. So on the very next slide, you can see examples of this. So opinion, observation. Word adjectives that would be opinions and observations are like good, exciting, fun, boring, like things that are like obviously like they're not true for how everybody feels about them, but they're true for however the speaker, whoever is talking, their point of view is how they feel about them. Good, that's an opinion word. Exciting, fun, boring, bad, lame. Those are all examples of opinion and observation adjectives. The next order of I don't want to say importance, but the way that we would order our adjectives is by physical description. This is kind of obvious. So they describe the size, shape, age, and color of a noun. So this is where it gets kind of complicated, though, is that these also have a particular order. So if you have more than one adjective that is describing the object's physical description, or the noun's physical description, it goes by size, shape, age, and color. So I also put that on here so you can remember. So size, shape, age, and color. Examples: big, small, giant. Those are all size, obviously. Round, triangular, shape, age, ancient, young, old, color, green. So these are all different examples of them, and you could see that we would like put them in this order from size, shape, age, and color. It's a little bit confusing, but I find that when you say it out loud to yourself, you can tell what sounds correctly. What sounds correct, I mean. That didn't sound correct. So it does seem a little strange that like we're ordering adjectives. Like it's not something that we really even think about like in our everyday life, but eventually you'll realize that you're doing this without even thinking about it. It's just the way that we talk. All right, so the next order is material. So material is how or with what a noun is made. So basically this means, and remember we're getting a little bit more specific now, so we're not just talking about any old object, we're talking about the object that's made of silver, or we're talking about the object that is wooden, or we're talking about the object that's plastic. So material is whatever that object, or it doesn't have to be an object, it's whatever that noun is made of or how it's made. Our next one is pretty specific, and it's origin. Origin means where it comes from. So like if I'm talking about something, for example, that is like a hamburger, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, not a hamburger. A good example would be cheese. Like, this is American cheese. Or if I'm talking about a pizza, like he made the Italian pizza. Like I'm telling you where it came from, like where it was created, where it originated, origin from. So that's a little bit more specific. And the last, most specific, the order of adjectives is by its purpose. So the purpose is whatever it's used for. So if I'm describing like a spoon, I could say the cooking spoon. That doesn't make any sense. But if I was saying like a journal, I would be like the writing journal. So like the Italian writing journal. See, like I wouldn't say the writing Italian journal. If you're ever in doubt, just try to say it out loud to yourself, like mixed up, and you'll feel what you'll hear, and you'll feel like what sounds right to you, because we naturally do this. To be honest with you, like I teach English, and I don't think about the order of this usually, typically. Like it's just something that I do naturally, and it's something that you all do naturally as well. So when you're practicing this on your Google Doc, make sure you're looking back at this, because I even had to look back at this when I was doing some of them, because it's, again, like I said, it's not something you typically think about, but it is like a rule in the English language. So got to practice. Let's do one together. So this is an example of one that's correct. So example 1, the big old yellow dog loves to play fetch. So obviously we're describing the dog, right? The dog is the noun. I'm going to highlight that in pink just so we know that that's a noun. Loves to play fetch is the rest of the sentence. We're not even going to pay attention to that, because that's like my verb, that's my predicate, like loves to play fetch. The big old yellow dog. So the out the gate, I already know is an article. So I'm going to highlight that in blue. I'm trying to do a blue that's like, okay. So now I'm left with my adjectives, big, old, and yellow. And we know that this is correct already, the way it is. But we have big, old, and yellow. And if we look at our order, big is an opinion, but also it could be considered size. Big, and then we have, old. Old also describes age. And then yellow describes color. So you can see it went in order, big, old, and yellow. So it goes in that specific order. If we had done it in out of order, a different way, it would have sounded kind of goofy. So let's look at this example, because it's going to sound really goofy now, because this one is wrong right now. So it says, red old IA, Russian, folktale, scary. That sounds goofy. So I already know, I and red is what I'm talking, like that's me, I'm talking about myself. I read, so I can even get rid of, I'm even going to cross that out if I can figure out how to do it on here. Or I'm going to highlight it. I'm just going to highlight it in, and I'm not going to highlight it in orange. I'm going to highlight it in green, because that's just like the rest of the sentence. I read. Like, that's what I'm doing. I'm not even describing myself in the sentence. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. All right. So I read, so old, a Russian folktale, scary. So immediately remember what always comes first is my article. So my article in this sentence is a. So a I'm going to put first when I'm describing what I'm describing. And obviously I'm describing my Russian, well, I'm giving you kind of a hint now, my Russian folktale. So you naturally do it and you don't even think about it. So first I'm going to write, I read a. So now I have old Russian folktale, scary. So the first word would be an opinion word, right? So our order is an opinion word, so you have to really think about this. And in this instance, scary is an opinion, because scary, what's scary to me might be not scary to you. What's scary to you might not be scary to me. So the very first adjective is going to be scary. So I read a scary, comma. So I'm going to get rid of scary. I'm just going to highlight it because I used it. And then now I have old Russian folktale. So folktale is obviously my noun, like that's my actual thing. So I have to decide what to use first, old or Russian. And if I look at my ordering, I have physical description, then I have origin. So origin, and if I look on here, it's even more clear. Origin is going to be Russian, so that's going to go last. That's going to be my last adjective. And old goes under physical description, so that's going to come next. So old is my next adjective I'm going to use. So I read a scary, old, and then I'm going to put Russian, because that's my origin, that's my most specific, folktale. And so if you say this out loud to yourself in a different way, so the correct way is obviously I read a scary old Russian folktale. So let's say if I switch the order, I read a Russian scary old folktale. It sounds weird. It doesn't sound right. If I read a old Russian scary folktale, that doesn't sound too bad, but it doesn't sound correct. But I read a scary old Russian folktale sounds correct. Like that's how we normally speak. So remember, like whenever you're in doubt, just say it out loud and practice saying it, and you'll probably most likely figure out the correct answer from that way. So now what you're going to do is you are going to complete the Google Doc by placing the mixed up sentences in the correct order. So it's going to look just how this one looks. The things are going to be out of order. It's going to sound ridiculous. You're going to put them in order. Remember, you will not receive any credit if your work is not fully done to the best of your ability. This is what the Google Doc looks like. It's a sequencing multiple adjectives. I also put the order table on the top so that you can see, and there's an example here of what you might get. Where's she pretty a green dress? And then you can see it in order. When you finish doing this Google Doc, you're going to review suffixes. So remember we did the suffix last week. If it ends in ly, it means something is done in some type of way. You can review the rules for that at the bottom of this page. We have a new suffix, which is a word that ends in y. So when the suffix y is added to the end of a word, it means full of something. So example, stick becomes sticky. It means it's full of, I know that sounds weird, but it's full of stick. It's full of something that has stick in it. Tang, tangy, fluff, fluffy. Remember, same kind of thing, when you add a suffix y to a word that ends in e, you have to drop the e before adding the y. So just remember that. You now have a Google Doc using suffixes and root words. Make sure you fully complete it to the best of your ability. It looks like this. So you're going to fill in where the yellow is, where the blank space is, with the correct roots. And the correct word with a suffix. So let me know if you have any questions. Make sure you're doing your work to the best of your ability. Remember, it will be sent back to you if you need to make corrections. If it's submitted blank, I'm just going to keep sending it back to you. And if it's submitted blank over like 2 times, then it's counting as a 0. Good job to everybody that's doing their best work and trying. I know it's not always easy, but keep it up.